Hello and welcome to our 12-part mini-series Harvestable. Join us every Thursday for 15-minute fireside chats with agriculture's most insightful minds in the lead up to harvest. In this episode, we are joined by Jake Young, Office Manager of Grain and Intermodal Division at Fletcher International.
So hi everyone, Ben Reid here, Head of Growth and Co-founder at AgriDigital. And today I'm aligned for another version of our Harvestable podcast. We've got Jake Young, who is the Office Manager for Fletcher International Exports, which is a grain intermodal hub based at Dubbo in New South Wales, and also a very large sheep meat abattoir also based at Dubbo, and also have a meat abattoir based in Western Australia as well. So great to have you on the line, Jake.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me.
Very good. I know you're just driving at the moment, so there'll be a fraction of background, but it's all going to be very authentic.
We'll try and avoid the speed bumps.
We can. Yep, that's it. And just talking to you a bit earlier, great to have you on the line. And I guess, again, full disclosure at the start of the conversation here, Fletcher are a software customer of ours and a very important one because they were the very first software customer of ours almost 6 years ago to the date. I think we rolled out our software AgriDigital platform there just before the 2016 harvest. So,
yep, that'd be right.
Yeah, so it's been a really great partnership that we've had and one we don't take lightly. So yeah, great to have you with us, Jake. And I know you've been there you were saying for 9 years at the Fletcher business, which is a nice long tenure. But it's just I guess for the benefit of people listening in today across the country. What I'd like to do is just get you to give us a bit of history on yourself personally, and then probably talk a bit about the Fletcher business, where it's come from, and I guess where it is today.
Yeah, sure, no worries. Well, I suppose my background, I studied an ag science degree down at CSU in Wagga. That was probably a later in life decision to do. Before that, I was actually a vet nurse for about 9 years here in Dubbo. I'm a local boy and was a vet nurse for a while and decided that maybe I want to go to uni and do vet science, and that kind of changed after the first year and moved over to ag science and haven't looked back. Yes, I started with Fletchers in the harvest of 2011 during my university holidays and absolutely loved it, and they pressured me to stay at the end of that harvest, and I thought I better go back and finish off my degree. So I did another year back at CSU and started full-time in 2012 and here I am now.
Yep, very good. And 9 years is a long tenure, as I said, and probably for everyone's benefit, just to give some context about, I guess, the Fletcher business. If you wouldn't mind spending a few minutes just talking about, I guess it's a family business and also how they started and where they are now.
No worries. Yeah. So the division of the company I work in is the Grain and Intermodal facility, which some people might be familiar with. But in general, the Fletcher company was born from a livestock background, with Roger Fletcher being the founder and managing director of the company. Roger started out as a drover, buying and selling sheep and things like that, and over the years leasing council abattoirs that were no longer in use. And in the late 80s, the decision was made to build the abattoir in Dubbo as it is today. It's undergone some redevelopments and expansions over the last few years. And in the late 90s, the plant in Western Australia, in Albany, Western Australia, was built as well. So between the two plants, they have a processing capacity somewhere in the region of about 10,000 sheep per day. The Dubbo plant has a slightly higher processing number than what the Western Australian plant does. And then the business, it started to grow from there into different avenues away from meat processing. Roger purchased some farms. There's a large farm at Condobolin and another one at Lightning Ridge. And both of these farms, they grow grain and livestock and the breeding flock and things like that, and backgrounding sheep. And there is also a lamb feedlot down at the Condobolin farm, can hold anywhere from 60 to 80,000 lambs at any one time, which helps to supply the abattoir. And over the years, the grain that was being produced at the Condobolin farm was being delivered to other bulk handlers. And in true Roger Fletcher style, he wasn't happy with someone else being in control of his supply chain and his commodity. He wanted to have a go at being able to do it better himself. So that was how the grain terminal was born. The land was already owned opposite the abattoir in Dubbo, so the silo complex was built. It was only a very small complex to start off with. It had 4 3,000-ton silos, and we leased a very small train set to put all of our containers on, the meat containers and the grain containers. And over the years, the site has grown from about a 12,000-ton site in its very beginning up to now approximately a 400,000-ton site. Most of our storage is spread across bunkers, silos, and our sheds. We have 2 purpose-built cotton lint warehouse sheds that are about 140 metres long, 80 metres wide, and they apparently are the largest single-span sheds in the country. So not only do we pack and export grain, we also warehouse and pack cotton bales, cotton seed, and all different types of grain: wheat, barley, chickpeas, canola, lupins. Pretty much anything that we can put into a shipping container and put on our train, we will have a go at. About 6 years ago, we did make the decision to purchase our own train set. Very similar to what happened with the grain, Roger wanted to try and improve efficiencies and do things better himself. So instead of leasing train sets, we set about buying 3 locomotives and 62 purpose-built Skell wagons. And so now we currently run the longest and heaviest container export train in the country. And it is, I believe, still the longest and heaviest train to ever go over the Blue Mountains. And it services all of our freight. Our local customers around us as well can use our train for their freight needs, and runs into Port Botany 3 times a week, delivering our freight in there and backloading import containers as well.
Well, it's a real story, Jake, and you've summarised it well in a few minutes there. And I guess, for last week, I actually interviewed Daniel McNaught from McNaught's Transport, based down in the Finley-Berrigan area in southern New South Wales. And I guess they're a trucking transport business, and by default, Fletchers have become a train transport business. And I can certainly see why that sort of came to fruition with I guess the need to for want of a better word, logistics is the centre of the Fletchers business, I guess, isn't it, Jake?
Yes.
I know that there's the storage, but at the end of the day, getting the product to the port, as you say, in a container, and that's a varied array of products was obviously integral to that. And I'm sure it doesn't come without its challenges.
No, definitely not. And I mean, in the beginning, it was about improving the efficiencies and having more control over our product and our freight. That's when we were leasing other services and things like that. But as the business has evolved, especially with us now owning our own train set, we've had to become as versatile as we can. We've come off the back of 3 years of terrible drought, so there really was no grain to put on that train. Whereas if we were leasing a train set from another service provider, we would have been under a take or pay arrangement and paying for a service that we couldn't use or didn't need. We still had bills to pay with our own train, but they were a lot less than where we were under a take or pay arrangement. So we've had to really become very versatile and look at other avenues to keep our train moving outside of there being no grain or no cotton or low livestock numbers, things like that. And at the moment, which I'm sure a lot of people would be aware of, it's been in the media. The logistical nightmare of exporting and shipping around the world is really playing havoc with us at the moment, and a lot of other exporters as well. Cost of moving containers around the world is skyrocketing astronomically. So yeah, it's an ever moving, ever evolving beast that we have to keep learning how to deal with and changing the way we do things.
We talked last week about the back freight, I suppose we call it in the trucking business. Looking for whether it's a load of grain from point A to point B and a load of fertiliser or lime or gypsum or something from B back to A. I guess you probably don't have quite that luxury as much, I guess, with trains. Jake, I wouldn't mind just sort of understanding that a bit better.
So there is actually an opportunity there for someone like us, an example, to take advantage of there being a backload, I suppose we'll call it, for our train. So obviously our train needs to bring the empty containers out to us. So it's not necessarily moving back out to us empty, because it
Yeah.
is still doing a purpose of
Yeah.
returning empty containers to us. But in terms of importing goods into Australia, when you're importing containers, they're obviously coming in through the ports in what's considered a metro area. So that clearing of a container in terms of in quarantine and inspections and things like that is quite straightforward in a metro area. It's very easy to do. But for us, being a regional upcountry, 500 kilometres from the port, we can't just pick up a container at the port and bring it into us here in Dubbo and unload it, no matter what the product is. It has to go through what's called a rural tailgating procedure. So it's quite often is unpacked, and whatever is inside it is inspected by customs officials, because it's coming to a rural area. Had that container been destined for a metro address, it would have simply been moved to that metro address and unloaded. So being able to transfer those inspection powers or facilities, whether it be the government sets up a location in a rural area, or similar to, they've granted the powers to authorised officers to inspect goods that are leaving the country in rural areas. If that could be given to people in areas such as Dubbo, then we could literally pick up containers from the port, relieving congestion from a very congested Port Botany at the moment, bring those containers straight out to Dubbo and have them inspected and unpacked on our site, saving everyone a lot of time and money along the supply chain.
It's interesting. So it sounds like there's a bit of an opportunity there to, for want of a better word, loosen up some red tape to actually allow that to happen. Yeah.
Yes, it is something that we've tried doing in the past. And at the moment, it kind of falls into the too hard basket, because you do have to jump through a lot of hoops, and there is a lot of red tape. But when you look at how some of the things are done in the metro area, there's no reason why we really couldn't be doing it out here and improve it for a lot of people, not just ourselves. Your big W's, your BCFs, things like that, people who rely on trucks to transport their goods out here that have been imported. It could be a much more seamless process for them.
Yeah, and potentially some agricultural products as well, Jake, too.
Definitely. Fertiliser, machinery, chemicals, there's huge potential.
Well, you don't get those opportunities unless you put yourself out there, and I guess the business has done that by, as you say, buying that train set and having a bit more control over the logistics. And I guess for all those farmers that over the years have delivered grain into your site there, and I know that ranges sometimes from growers in Queensland, all the way down to southern New South Wales, but I guess in years like this, it's probably more from the central west New South Wales area. But there's plenty of farmers that have benefited from what you've done, from what the Fletcher business has done, and I'm sure grateful to have you there and the competition in the marketplace as well. Probably just not so much to round out yet, Jake, but I guess I know from experience, I guess the site there itself in Dubbo, you've undergone some improvements, in recent years, and maybe just particularly for the local growers to understand a bit more about what that means, and hopefully improve some harvest receivable times this year.
Yeah, sure. So since I've been at the company, it's grown every year. Nothing has stayed the same. And there's been a number of different things over the years that have grown and changed. So we understand that things are changing for growers in terms of headers are getting bigger. Triples are now allowed into more roads and more towns. So they're moving more grain on trucks. So we need to improve our efficiencies so that we can return trucks to the growers as quick as possible. So over the last few years, we have spent a considerable amount of money investing in upgrading our infrastructure and our facilities. So a lot of our bunker machinery, it's the biggest that we can buy. With a 700 tonne an hour capacity on some of our bunker machines, we can unload road trains in about 10 or 15 minutes. This year, we're actually in the process right now of commissioning our silo upgrade to our front silo complex. We've been testing it over the last few days, and with the installation of a new 30-ton pit and higher capacity elevators and drag belts, we've been able to unload trucks in 4 to 5 minutes, compared to previously was 35 to 40 minutes. So we're really looking at just reducing the amount of time that a truck spends on our site. We have our two weigh bridges. You would have seen in the past, we only had one weigh bridge. So now we have the in and out bridge. So we're not choking up with trucks trying to get in and out on the one bridge. And last year, even though it's not new anymore, we did install a auto sampler that runs the full length of our incoming weigh bridge. So our trucks don't arrive on site at our weigh bridge and then have to go to a different location for spearing. While they are there weighing into the site and handing over their details, a sample is being taken from their truck at the same time. It's only removing a 1 or 2 minute step from everything, but because it's being done at the same time, it really does save on efficiencies and productivity getting trucks through our site as quick as we can.
Yep, absolutely. That's what it's all about. And, hopefully our software has enabled you to be able to do that, Jake. I guess having, multiple stations you need data flowing.
Yes, yeah, without being able to use AgriDigital or software like AgriDigital, it wouldn't be possible to do some of the things that we do, because we do have various locations across the site where we can keep these trucks moving to, so we're not bottlenecked at one location. So having software that's cloud-based, it's quite user-friendly. It's very easy for everyone to use and jump on and do the information. We're able to seamlessly get trucks through our site with the use of our infrastructure and your software.
Yeah, that's great. And I guess just quickly, we're trying to keep this to a bite-sized interview, Jake, but just I guess to look to the future, just in a minute or two. I guess what, as you say, you evolved a lot. You're growing with the need for what your customers are wanting. What do you sort of see as the, if you had to choose sort of one or two things that you can see in the next sort of 5 years that you as a business want to sort of fix or at least innovate in, what would it be?
So things that we probably see as issues that we need to focus on over the next few years would be the importing that we spoke about earlier. Getting that out to a rural, remote area is something that we are very keen to do. But also having more transparency and greater efficiencies happening at our ports. At the moment, you've got heavily privately owned, plus also heavily unionised situations there, and I don't need to go into too much detail there, and everyone's quite aware of what's happening. But it can really impact a business, whether it be a private business such as ourselves or a more public company that's wanting to deal with that infrastructure. It can really play havoc with what you're trying to achieve, and at the end of the day, having inefficiencies in those areas ends up affecting our farmers. It ends up affecting Australian product being accessible to the entire world. We really would like to see us become more accessible to our importing and exporting customers.
Yep. Well, it's a chunky enough thing to get your teeth into, Jake. So I'm sure the business will do its best to do that, and hopefully the benefits of that flow through to your customers as well, which I'm sure they will. So that's great. And as I said at the very start of this interview, we will certainly as a business be forever grateful for the opportunity to be your our first software customer, and we appreciate everything you've done over the last 6 years, and look forward to supporting you into the future. And you've been there from day dot as well, Jake. So that's fitting to have you on today. And appreciate you sort of sharing the Fletcher story. And for those watching from the sideline, look forward to seeing how it evolves as time rolls on.
No worries. Thank you very much for having us. And we were happy to be the guinea pig, and we're still happy to be along for the ride.
Sounds good. Great. Thanks, Jake.
No worries. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you for listening to Harvestable by Waypath. We hope you enjoyed this fireside chat. Have a great weekend and see you next Thursday.